Hello Webflow pros and you Framer users. Right, this is a video about that new software that's come out called Framer. I actually don't understand why everybody, all I can see on YouTube is I'm moving from Webflow to Framer. I've just been utilizing the software and literally the only thing that is cool about it is that little AI video that they've made. Now, okay, it's a great tool. They're offering it out free. It's amazing that they're building softwares like this. So kudos to the team, but this trend where people were jumping ship from Webflow, I'm basically going to explain why this is ridiculous and why if you're going to be scaling a agency that wants to build £10,000+ websites, there's no way in hell you could be using Framer. There's a few reasons why. And basically Webflow, yes, it has a steeper learning curve, but it is just open-ended in how you can solve problems and build websites. The use case of Framer is that it is literally somebody that has no knowledge of web design and they just want a drag and drop tool, a literal drag and drop tool. The problem with this is I had no idea about web design when I started, but I started using Webflow. Just because it was a steeper learning curve, it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have been using it. It took me, a year to master it, and now I understand web design best practices. So that is the best thing about Webflow, because it literally teaches you whilst you use it how websites are structured. With Framer, you're not going to get any of that. Even the naming conventions, like the things they name their tools, have no relevance to, well, some do, but most of them have no relevance to what things are called within the web design industry. Now, I'm just going to take you into the software and just show you, because it's crazy how I don't understand how people are jumping board. Right, so obviously the most amazing thing that has been shown is this start with AI. Now I'm just gonna start here and show you that yes, this is a great advertising ploy, I'm not gonna lie, but I utilized it and wow, it is not as great as I get rid of this. Right, let's go to actions. I want to create with AI and I want to let's recreate legacy design. Create a full landing page for let's do Webflow agency called Legacy Design Agency. Use black and green as the main colors. Okay, let's say use high converting sections, which I mean high converting sections, everybody should know what that means. We want to have a hero, we want to have an about, we want to have testimonials, all of that good stuff. So let's see what happens. Let's see what it comes up with and actually put the test. Oh wow, the green is already wow. Okay, please don't say that's Comic Sans. What font is this? That is incredible. Dua. I do not know what Dua font is, but I will not be using it in any of my future projects along with this green. Wow. Okay, so if people think that AI is going to be taking developer jobs, please just take a look at this. I've made a video earlier on talking about why this is never going to happen. Not only because, well, of course, the AI prompts are going to get much better, but there's a whole host of other reasons which you can watch in the linked video. But look, the state that we are at now is nowhere near. Look at this. I don't even know what this little white dot is here. Okay, so hopefully this has shown you that the AI tool, which is very cool, I'm not going to lie, it is amazing seeing it being built and I'm sure it's going to get much better, but I'm sorry, this is not taking my UI UX service away from me anytime soon. I'm actually going to come in and actually give Framer one cool thing that I do like, and I do actually like the way they show all pages, all of the responsiveness. Now I can see this becoming quite a mess, but as you can see within a Webflow site, if we just open up we're just going to open up a new site. Framer actually has a very cool way of showing everything, so you can, I like being able to see everything. But look, now I'm trying to, let's actually go to the pages. Let's go to, yeah, so it's nice to have things laid out like this, but let's see if see that's just, it's just less time. See, like I'm scaling up and down the page. Now I'm gonna have to move this across, and it just little things like that. I know I'm being really nitpicky, but if you're running a design agency and we're about speed and processes and we want to speed things up and make as much money as possible, things like that just are not going to help you. Whereas with Webflow, of course, look, I can just, okay, yeah, get rid of the tool tabs. I don't want to see that. Let's just get rid of everything on this page. Yeah, look, so I can just quickly and easily swap between viewports, but also it's going to lock out at that viewport. So I know I'm only editing on that page. And of course you can add and remove viewports, which I'm sure you can do with Framer, but it just seems like this is a little bit, whilst I like it, it's cool that I can see everything, and I would actually like Webflow to introduce some visual hierarchy like this, but it's more like Illustrator or Figma, where you can just place things anywhere and things can become a mess very quickly, and adding things like that are just going to slow down your standard operating procedures. Now, let's get rid of all of this terrible AI designed stuff. That green though, that green is ridiculous. Let's actually start from a new project. Go to dashboard. Come on. Let's add a new project. And I'm just going to pull apart some of the components, just like we can pull apart a Webflow component. So we've got our home page, desktop, 12,000 pixels. I don't want to start with AI because I don't want to throw up. Let's actually go to insert. Let's see what they've got. So obviously you can do the AI, and bear in mind, guys, you do know Webflow is releasing their own AI compatible searchable functionality later this year, and it's going to be, I'm pretty sure it's going to be very, very powerful. So let's check out what kind of components we can add. Now, I never use components within Webflow. I build everything from scratch because I like to use web design best practices by adding IDs and just implementing the right structure for each div so that I have complete control. Now, I don't know if we can do this within Framer. I'm sure there's a component for a div block. Maybe there isn't. I don't think there is, to be honest. I think what I'm understanding through this software is that it is a literal, you are starting from ground zero, you know nothing about Webflow, and not Webflow, sorry, web design. You just want to be able to drag things in. So there's no divs, there's no components like within Webflow where it names things properly. It's just got sections. So let's add, it doesn't even say, but this is a header. Let's drag that in. Inserting. I mean, even the speed, it takes a little bit time to load. Did you notice that? If we actually go to Webflow and we come down to components, layouts, let's just grab this component here. Oh, so I have to click on this. Sorry, I never use components, like I said. So let's just drag that in there. It's almost instant. So there is a little bit of a speed problem here, and the problem with this is obviously the bigger a site becomes, I don't know if any of you have created a 20+ page website, things can slow down, but if Framer's already having a loading icon for sections, that could become a problem. So let's dissect this. Let's go to layers of this section and see what's actually in here. So we've got the desktop, which obviously within Webflow this would be the body, I'm assuming. I'm hoping that it would be set as the body, and then we've just got a header with text inside. So already I'm seeing a significant problem with this. There isn't the structure that you would have, as we can see here, things to be set up correctly. You have the body, because we need to have a set unit size for the entire website so we can change things quickly. Then we obviously have the section, which the tag you can see here is set to section so that it allows Google to read your site properly. It understands which sections are sections. I'm assuming there must be a place to have settings, or if there isn't, that's very bad. But I'm assuming Framer pre-selects these as sections. But when you're creating quite complex layouts, sometimes you want to adjust the tags and the IDs of your own elements so that, of course, you can create complex sites. Now look, inside of that we've got a container, a hero wrapper, and hero splits. Normally I actually have a page wrapper, so I'd wrap this in a div and then call this page wrapper, and then I'd obviously have like 20 pixels on one side, 20 pixels on the other, something like that. Now within Framer, can we right click and, so we can't actually wrap, add stack, add frame. Okay, so I can wrap it in a frame, and I'm assuming I can call this page wrapper, and then I can add some padding to the left and right. Let's see, leg position, relative width for 100% height. Let's check what layout says. Type grid. Oh, so this is your flex. This is your flex or grid. So they're calling it stack. So this is one of the things that I'm saying, that if you're using Webflow, you actually be able to learn web design. But here, stack isn't an actual proper term. So you're not going to be able to transition into Webflow or understand web design or understand what coders are talking about. Effects, styles, scroll section. Let's see if we set this to 90%. Okay, so there we go. Overlays, links. Okay, so I found it. Here's the padding here in layout. So we can add a left and hopefully we can select just, yeah, so 2 sides. We can have 20 on one side. So this is already a problem as well. So it's not actually, within Webflow, it's very easy to know where you're setting units. As you can see, when I'm hovering over the top, bottom, or whatever, look, it's showing me there. It's showing me easily what the unit is, and now that is just handy. It's just handy to know that where I'm selecting things and change it. But if we come back to Framer and I just select, I don't even know, so that's top, select 20 pixels. Look, it made such a little movement there. I just don't know. You have to be very vigilant in knowing where you're changing units. Another issue that I'm seeing is when I make a change on here, so I set 20, what Webflow has is obviously it highlights the things in blue, which is, and look, even when we close the tab, it's got a blue icon here. That is paramount. The amount of cleanup I have to do through sites, and this speeds up things considerably, me being able to select something and push option and just get rid of sizing units and whatnot. It's paramount for me to be able to do that. But obviously within this, it doesn't actually tell you what's been edited and what's not, which is a problem because your site's going to be slower because you're not going to be able to clean up. Now, again, these aren't structured in a way that you would be doing a normal website. So let's actually add in another section, add that below. Okay, so it's stacked it nicely. Let's see what happens if I make this responsive, if I go up and down. Okay, so it doesn't look like there's a max container, which again, containers are very important for web design because otherwise designs would just keep on growing forever. I'm assuming you can select your own containers and create your own containers. I'm just realizing a complete other problem. So if you use Webflow, you understand the style selector and you understand naming conventions. You know that if we call this container, let's actually change that to container. We set that, I don't know, to 22 rems. Let's make it 102 rems. Let's just rename that to container. It'll just make it so much easier. Container, small c. Let's clean up actually. I'm going to clean up these divs. Let's rename that container. Now we know that if I was to Command E and then input a div and then name this to container, this is going to have the exact same styling options as the other one, and it's going to allow me to edit things throughout the site, which is huge, especially when we get into combo classes where we want container is large and we want to make that even 1200 pixels, and then obviously we can get remove or add it in the future. It's just easy to have styles that you use throughout the site. Now it doesn't look like, if I have a column here, so if I call this column and then I want to add another column here, let's use their stack, which should be flex. Let's actually stack that on top of each other. Look, I don't know what's happened here. Things have got, yeah, so look, so I've got to manually open, so we're double clicking it, or yeah, so if I have the height, let's change the height here to 500. Does this change the other one? No, it doesn't. So you can't use naming conventions. Now, if you know anything about web design, you understand that naming conventions are pretty much how every website is created using the box model. That is huge. That is a complete no-no for me. If you're making any websites bigger than 5 pages, 1 page, this is just going to slow things down. And this tool, people were saying, is going to speed up the process. How? I do not see how you could, yeah, okay, it's going to be easier to understand because it looks like Figma or Adobe XD, but you don't build websites using them softwares. This isn't going to make it faster. This is going to make it a pain in the arse when you're 2 pages deep and you need to make one change, and all of a sudden now you need to actually change every single element independently. Now, £10,000 websites plus, we're looking at a minimum of 8 to 10 pages. And say a client doesn't like something, which we all know is going to happen 5,000 times a day. This is where your business is going to be profitable or not. It's going to be the capability to create standard operating procedures where you can speed up edited changes so that you're not wasting time. This is why I use Webflow. This is why naming conventions are so important. This is why style guides are so important. Setting up the actual structure of your website so that everything can be changed from the start with a couple clicks. Now, that's where components come into play. where you can actually create dynamic components, but let's actually add in a new section here. Let's add this team section. Oh, okay, I need to select the body. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so look, if I want to create a component, easy, right click that, create component. Let's call this team section. Now we can make complex team sections components where we can turn and off and hide things. And look, so I can hide all of these and make these actual multiple components where there is a complexity to these components. And I've utilized these in large sites before, where other designers are able to step in and they haven't had to create anything because they can reuse all of my components easily and efficiently. Now, if we come back to Framer and we go to, I'm assuming they have components. I should hope so. Navigation, sections, forms, layouts. Let's select this and see if we can turn this into a component. Create component, here we go. Let's call this header. Okay, and then we've got different variants. So it's similar to, what's it called? Figma, in the way you can have different variants. But this could get, I do like the idea, what they've had here. Again, it's very visual. It allows you to see what is being designed, whereas Webflow, things are quite abstract. But the thing is, it's more to the point and it keeps things concise and fluid. But Framer is obviously showing me visually, whereas Webflow will only have like a text word, which concises the screen. But I do like this idea of allowing us to see what is visual, what is happening with each component. But the problem is, when you're having super complex components, when you're going to have like 500, well, not 500, but like 20 different designs here. And then again, I'm going to come back to the idea of speed. I'm assuming that this software is not going to be running super fast for large websites. Now, again, I understand that this isn't going to be used for large websites. Well, I hope not. But I have seen some YouTubers saying that they're going to be transitioning their entire design agency to this. Good luck to them. But there's just some things here that is a big no-no for me. Right, so what else have we got here? Oh, there's another major thing is with interactions. Now, interactions, you can only have very basic hover interactions. Within Webflow, of course, we have let's actually get rid of the component here. We have not only down here the very basic, here we go, states. Let's get rid of that. We can have hover, pressed, focused, all of that good stuff, just very easily within the tool panel. Or obviously, if you know Webflow, you can come into interactions where you can get super, super complex with these. Now, this is, again, what changes a £500 website to a £10,000 website, because clients love having these incredible interactions within their website. So that is a no-go for me. Now, talking about some other things that aren't actually this software, so I'm actually going to just speak to you face to face now. A few reasons why I will not be utilizing this at all for any businesses websites in the future is because the community isn't big enough. When you're utilizing a new tool, there are too many unknown unknowns. And what I mean by that is, say you build a 5-page website and for some reason some error comes up. There's no resources out there at the moment because it's a new tool for you to fix that. Now, if you're just a startup business, web design agency, it's very important that you're able to solve every client's problem because you need them 5-star reviews. With Webflow, I have never come into contact with a problem that I cannot solve. Ever. That is, I've built crypto websites, I have built fintech websites, SaaS websites, where the team on the client side, they are actual engineers, and they haven't been able to figure out a problem for the website. But because I understand the Webflow community, I've been able to either find a tutorial, a resource, or somebody to help me to solve that problem. So it ends up making me look like an absolute expert, even though it's just because I'm leveraging the community of Webflow. So that for me, for one, is just the most important factor. And the community is only growing. It's only going to get bigger. And the way Webflow is consistently updating software tools and the features on their Webflow, it's almost like every month they release 5 to 10 new features on their tool. So there's a host of numbers, but another reason is because you cannot replicate web design best practices. Now, say for example, I built a website for one of these companies that I said do have engineers. They've actually went through my entire website before and just looked at every single detail, just trying to rip me apart, because there's a lot of engineers out there that do not like the idea of no code developers building faster and better websites than people that can code. So there was a situation where this engineer, he didn't like me very much because I think I took his job away from him and he was acting as a supporting role. He went through the entire website and was like, this needs to be done, this. And if I wasn't able to fix them and get the speed as high as possible and use the best practices within web design, I would have lost the job. I was able to solve every single issue because Webflow allows you that malleability to be able to add web design best practices. So with Framer, if the client was to ask me to do a certain thing and I couldn't do it, not only going to lose the job, but if you've already built a website, they're probably not going to want to pay you because you haven't come up at the start and said, oh, this can't be done within Framer. There's very little I have to say to a client on the onboarding process of what cannot be done. With Framer, I feel like your onboarding process, you're going to have to tell the client a whole list of things that can't be done. And the problem is, with such a new software, like I said, there's going to be unknown unknowns, so you will run into multiple issues. Again, this isn't a software I feel like you should be building large websites. This is for your local businesses and for you to kind of get the grips with seeing how web design works online. But if you're going to start anywhere, just start with Webflow. Okay, the learning process is going to be a little bit harder, but from ground zero, you were getting all of the best support. You're going to be learning things the correct way. Not only that, I actually understand CSS and JavaScript because Webflow teaches it whilst you go along with it. So don't start with Framer, start with Webflow. There is literally no reason other than laziness or literally being scared of a software that is going to bring you in more money. Because if you master Framer, there's only a limit you can get to. With Webflow, you can keep on increasing that limit to the point where you can be coding straight into Webflow because you have a developer mode within Webflow now as well. So there is literally no limit. Developer that knows CSS and JavaScript can come into Webflow and utilize it. He couldn't or she couldn't go into Framer and build with code with that tool. So by using it, you are literally capping yourself at a level. So you're just going to have to relearn a software, Webflow, or whatever the next best software is at a later date. So no, it's not going to speed up processes. It is going to cause you more problems. It is going to cause you problems with your clients. You're going to lose clients. You're going to lose reviews. If you build anything more than simple websites for people that themselves don't understand web design. So overall, if we're to go back through that, class naming conventions, major, isn't within Framer. Component complexity just isn't there. A CMS complexity with logic just isn't there. So you're not going to be able to make giant directory websites like Airbnb or sites like that. You cannot replicate web design best practices. You cannot code straight into Framer. So even if you run into a problem where I've had problems where I've actually had to hire CSS or JavaScript developers, within Webflow it's very easy for them to edit. Now I know within Framer you can add CSS code blocks, but it's not as intuitive as Webflow is. So yeah, overall, my summary is if you're going to learn anything, learn Webflow. If you're not going to learn Webflow, learn the code. Just don't waste your time. Yes, the AI functionality is very cool, but Webflow's releasing that very soon anyway. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you have started using Framer. I'm so sorry that I just ripped it all apart. And to the Framer team that possibly are watching this, well done on your tool. It is obviously amazing. You're much smarter than me. I couldn't build something like that. But I do feel like I need to let people know if they want to build a £10,000 per month web design agency like me, you need to be utilizing the right tools. And there may be something better than Webflow in the future, but Framer is not it. And I do not see any amount of upgrades or updates that it could ever even become a competitor with Webflow. So don't look at any of these I'm switching from Webflow to Framer and think that you need to be doing it because it's the trend. Because I'm assuming people have been looking at Google Trends and seeing, oh, that's what's getting the most clicks. No, what I like to tell you is how to make the most money so that you can be financially free your family, free yourself. Come out to Thailand with me and start sparring people in Muay Thai and living your best life. So do yourself a favor, learn Webflow. Anyway, enough of my rant. Take it easy and I'll speak to you guys soon.